Okay, so this is our homework after Unit Test 3, and this is reviewing some information you're going to need for our next unit over graphing lines and slope. So this should be a review, and the first thing we're going to talk about is slope here. And remember that slope is rise over run, so you want to write this information down as I go through it on the video. So slope is rise over run. So if I have a graph, what I need to do is find a couple of points on here where the line is actually crossing these little marks. I would want to pick this point because I can't tell exactly where it is, but if I pick this point right here, I can tell exactly where this one is. This one is at -3, 0. And I could also find another point like this one here. This one is at 3 and 4. So I find two places where it's exactly crossing the little squares in the background. And I want to mark those points. And then rise means to go up. So if I start here, I'm going to go up this much and then over that much to get to that point. So then it's just a matter of counting the squares here. 1, 2, 3, 4. And do notice I'm counting the squares. 1, 2, 3, 4 going up there. So this is 4 up. And then how many do I have to run? Run is going over, and you always run to the right side. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So my rise over run is 4 over 6, and I'm always going to reduce my fractions, so I'm going to reduce this to 2 over 3. You can reduce it by hand, or you can use your calculator and reduce it. Remember the fraction key. And then I'm going to give you another hint on slope. If you're looking at graphs, if the slope is going like this is uphill, and uphill is always a positive slope. This, we would say, is going downhill, and downhill is always a negative slope. Up is always positive, down is always negative. So uphill, if it's going up like this, it's always going to be a positive slope. So you should do this one along with the video, then pause and do 2 and 3, and then come back to the video for the next part. So the next part, we're going to use the slope formula, which is still rise over run, and rise is talking about in the y direction here. So I'm going to take y2 minus y1, that's in the y direction, that's rise, and I'm going to take run, which is in the x direction, x2 minus x1, and that's slope. And notice that M is a letter that stands for slope. Now I do suggest on these that you write down x1, y1, and x2, y2. And those little ones are just saying this is point 1 and this is point 2. That often confuses people, and it's just saying this is point 1, and I just put the 1s there to keep this straight, that those go together. And this is point 2, so I put the 2s there to keep that one together. Because the order absolutely matters. It didn't matter last unit when we talked about midpoint and distance, but the order matters this time that we get it right. So I need to do 8, that's y, minus 3, negative 3, over my x's, negative 1 minus 15. Now you can do this on your calculator. If you do it on your calculator, you need to put both of these in parentheses, or we can do it by hand. 8 minus a negative 3, well that's a positive, so that's 11. And negative 1 minus 15 is negative 16. So here's my slope. I'll also point out that it doesn't matter where the negative is. This is the same as this, is the same as this. These all mean negative 11 over 16. If I have a negative on the top and the bottom, that's going to make a positive. When you enter these into into the form on Google Classroom, you need to always type them in like this, negative 11 over 16, with the negative out in front like this, or the form is going to count it wrong. That is a reduced fraction, so we're going to stop there. Okay, use the same formula on the other ones, reduce your fraction if you need to, and then go on to number 7. Okay. Number 7, now it's a line, and we're going to talk about this line. This is in slope-intercept form. And slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope and b is the y-intercept. So in this equation here, negative 2 is the slope, and 1 is the y-intercept. Negative 2 is the slope, and 1 is the y-intercept. So this asks us to find the slope of each line, so the slope of this line is negative 2. Notice that it's just the number there in front of the x. It does not include the x, it's just the number. So do that for the rest of these, 8 and 9, and then come back to the video, pause it, and then come back and do the next one. Okay, on the back, these are now in standard form. Remember, standard form of a line is where we have ax plus by equals c. And that's the form we have here. And what it asks us to do is write it in slope-intercept form. So I want to rewrite it in y equals mx plus b form, because I really want to find the slope. This is all about finding slopes, and I really want to find the slope. And we just looked at the last problems. The slope is m. So if I get it in this form, it's really easy to see the slope. So our goal here is to get the y by itself, and we're going to do it the same way every time. First, you take whatever the x term is, in this case it's 3x, and you add the opposite. So 3x, the opposite of that is negative 3x. And I want you to put a line where the equal sign is, just like we did before, and we're minus the 3x on this side and on this side. Now over here on this side, 3x minus 3x cancels out. I have left here negative 4y. Now on this side, can I combine a 12 and an x together? I can't, because those are not like terms. So I'm just going to write them down, and I'm going to write the x first, because I want it with the x first over here. Notice the negative was with the 3, so it stays with the 3. The 12 was positive, so it's positive there. Now what else do I need to do? I need to get the y all by itself without a number in front of it. So if this was just 4y equals 3, I would divide both sides by negative 4. I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to take and I'm going to divide everything by negative 4. Everything gets divided by negative 4. Negative 4 over negative 4 cancels, and I have y. This one is 3/4 x, and a negative over a negative makes a positive. And here I have 12 divided by 4, that makes negative 3. So here's my line in slope-intercept form, and now I can find the slope just like I did on the back side. The slope is the number in front of the x, so the slope equals 3/4. Okay, so that's how you do these. Finish these up. Make sure you turn these in the Google form. Make sure you're finding the parts that it tells you to find on each one of the Google form answers. All right.